Okay, we're about ready to get started, so I ask the commissioners to and staff to turn their mics on. Anybody want to do a mic check? Let's turn Catherine on, please. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the January 19, 2023 Charlotte County Airport Authority meeting. I asked Mr. Hurston isn't here, who usually does our invocation, so we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call, please.
Good morning. Mr. Andrews?
Here.
Mrs. Oliver?
Here.
Mr. Hackett?
Here.
Mr. Hansick?
Here.
Mr. Parrish?
Here.
Mrs. Coppola?
Here.
Hurston is in the men's room.
He should be appearing any moment.
Well, we ain't gonna wait for him. Okay, anyone wishing to address the Airport Authority concerning agenda items, please identify yourself and the agenda item. See no one approach. We'll move on to item 6, additions or deletions to the agenda.
Yes, I'm going to add to old business hurricane repair contracts.
Hurricane repair.
That's item 13.
Yes, 13A.
Okay. Okay, item 7, employee recognition. Mrs. Dyson, is it Deskin?
Good morning. We have 3 5-year service awards today, and I have all of their supervisors here as well. I'm going to start with Brian Bond, who's our terminal operations manager, and his supervisor, Beth Pardal, is here to give the award.
Okay.
All right, thanks. Morning, everyone. So this is an easy one for me. I'm honored to be able to present this 5-year award to Brian. Watched him evolve over the last 5 years, obviously, 5-year award. Started out, came on board as a airside operations technician, and then shortly after a year was promoted to airside supervisor, which he was there for, 4.5 years. And and we worked together in the airside department. He did a lot of great things there. You handled all the noise abatement program, right? We saw that. That's a good one. And so for the last 2 months, Brian transitioned 2 months ago to being the terminal operations supervisor, and I get to work with him directly again, which is my pleasure. Just a few things about Brian. As an employee to the airport, his dedication is unparalleled when it comes to the success of the airport. When it comes to leadership and him being a supervisor, there's a lot of things with leadership that is trainable, but there are characteristics that you can't train. And that would be his people skills are just incredible. The way he cares and is respectful to everybody that works here, especially on our team. In 2 months, he's gained the respect of our team, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to thank you and say that it's definitely the airport's benefit to have you here, Brian. Thank you. All right.
While they're taking the photographs, I will say in the last couple of months, I've had the opportunity to experience in a relationship with Brian, and he does a great job out there. Thank you. And he wouldn't let me park illegally either.
Good job.
And next, we have Tammy Humber, who is a our finance technician. She was before with our FBO. She was the FBO administrator. And Heather Straw is going to give the award.
Good morning. I am honored to present this 5-year service award to Tammy Hummer. Like Alyssa said, Tammy came on as our FBO administrator and did a fantastic job over there, just really learned all the software, and just recently has joined us on the finance team, and I can say she is a wonderful asset to the airport, and I present to you this 5-year award. Thank you.
I might note that Tammy kept all of our hangar tenants in line.
And then last but not least, we have Kaylee Miller. And if Mr. Parrish would like to come down and say something. Kaylee is our Director of Marketing and Communications.
Surprise.
So I get to bring my mic with
And then
us.
I'll take a picture.
So everybody that ever goes to our website has seen what Kaylee has done. Thank you, Kaylee. But there's a lot more. And her first weekend, I called her. I'm driving down from Sarasota because we have a credible bomb threat. And I called her about 5 times. She was at a birthday party for her son. She finally picks up the phone, and her husband's like, "Why are you driving to the bomb threat?" So there's a lot of things that a marketing director gets to do, and one of them is handle the press during emergencies, handle the press during hurricanes. She represents us at the EOC when necessary, so it's a big job, big shoes. She has filled it wonderfully. She has made us look so much better. She's made staff look better. Everything that happens around here happens with Kaylee's touch on it, so we appreciate her, and thank you. Now we get a picture.
Okay, moving on, agenda item 8, consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion. Anybody want to remove anything or a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. There'll be no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
He wasn't here for the.
He wasn't here for closing the cell phone thing. And I forgot it too, so.
Excuse me.
Okay, item 9, Secretary Treasurer's Report, Mrs. Coppola.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to defer to Mr. Parrish to give us a complete resume.
So I think the easiest way to do it is just go through the financial overview. So this is for November 2022. For last month, we have complete data. We are still suffering a little from traffic being down, but the majority of our decline comes in fuel and oil sales, which were down significantly in November, and also insurance expenses, which are things that we will get reimbursed for. So about $63,000 in insurance expenses, so the $50,000 loss is going to be coming back to us, but insurance proceeds go below the line, so you will see a loss above the line in revenues and expenses, and then below the line in non-operating revenues, you'll see the insurance come back in. So all in all, pretty good. We ended the year great, and I'll talk about that during the State of the Airport address. Go on to the balance sheet. Things are looking really good there. Cash is continuing to rise as we put money away for a lot of the expenses we have coming this year with the construction going on. And then also in the accounts receivables, things look pretty good. We just have a couple of tenants behind, and we're working with them as well as Allegiant, who is always a few months behind on their payments, but it's consistently that way. So we work with them. A big company tends to be a little behind. But any questions?
Seeing none, we'll move on to Commissioners' liaison reports. I'll start off with Punta Gorda City Council. Councilman Bill Dryberg isn't here this morning. I did communicate with him, and there are no common issues between us and the city of Punta Gorda. County Commissioners, Mr. Hurston.
Nope, that's not me.
Oh, Mr. Andrews, sorry.
We have our airport liaison, Commissioner Deutsch. Commissioner Deutsch, is there anything you'd like to report to the airport for us? I have nothing to report. No problem.
Okay, now Mr. Hurston for the MPO, Metropolitan Planning
Thank you,
Organization.
Mr. Chair. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Very good. Our last MPO meeting was on December 15th. And basically, we approved our calendar. We approved our 2023 legislative position statement. And we evaluated our director, Mr. Harris. And so that took up most of our time. Our next meeting is going to be a joint session with Sarasota Manatee this coming Monday, I believe, the 23rd. That's in Venice. MPO AC meeting, our next meeting is at the end of next week, which is the 31st. That'll be in Orlando. That's turned into an all-day thing for me because I now sit on the Freight and Rail Committee. And so I'll report on those two meetings next week. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Community, Mrs. Coppola.
Hi, yes. As we all know, we went through that horrible hurricane, and a lot of things are being rebuilt. I myself had to leave my own house for roof damage and other damage. But we're coming back. I see all the trucks out there and all the rebuilding guys, and they're making the area look really nice again. I have a new roof, very nice. Most of the meetings were not held that I go to because of the disaster in different areas and different places. So I'll have a better discussion next month. Also, food was given out door to door. I thought that was really nice in my area, and I don't know who's responsible for that. I'd like to find out and thank them because that was really nice to do. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, state legislation. Mrs. Oliver, please.
Thank you. Yes. So last week was the legislative delegation meeting, and actually the airport did not present at that to make an appropriations request because we're doing great. And so I think that really helps us build credibility with the state legislation and our local delegation to let them know that we are fiscally responsible. We're not asking for money every single year, that we're actually only asking for things when we really need it. So I think that goes a long way towards building our credibility, so when we ask for something, they know it's because we really, truly need it. Otherwise, our legislators are up at committee week this week, and busy.
Thank you.
And Mr. Parrish, I don't know if you have anything from the Florida Airports Council that you want to add?
No, we're continuing to monitor a few things. Chad has legislative tools, lobby tools that we now have a subscription to, which lets us put in keywords that they're constantly monitoring, which is really helpful. I used to just rely on him at another airport to give me the information, but. And I will be in Tallahassee on February 6th through the 8th for the Florida Airports Council fly-in, drive-up, whatever we want to call it. And, you know, just going through the chamber, talking to people. So I'll bring back what happened and what seems to be going on next month.
Okay, moving on, our attorney report. Mr. Hackworth, please.
Thank you. I have no report today, but I am pleased to be here today for Darrell Carr, who's out of town. Thanks.
I talked to Attorney Hackett yesterday and said it's been really quiet, and that's either because Darrell's not here or it's because Darrell's not here.
I agree.
Okay, moving on. Item 12, our CEO, various reports. Mr. Parrish.
So Mr. Ridenhour doesn't like to come to these meetings anymore, so he sits at his desk and watches. But I'll give the development update. Again, you guys get a pretty verbose, multi-page update. In development, commercial terminal expansion, and the PFC application. We have I think our notice to the airlines is out. We have our meeting with them in a few weeks. Nothing in solicitations right now, and we just finished a planning study, putting together some new flight track data based on the new arrivals and departure procedures with Metroplex. So next slide. In design, the FBO hangar, we're waiting on numbers to come down a little on steel. That's a little above our budget. Inline baggage system is with the TSA, and that's about 90%. That's 100%, so we hope to advertise that shortly. Self-serve fuel, we're working on getting the cost down for the electrical, looking at a couple of different options. We budgeted about $150,000. It came in about $400,000, but most of that was electrical, so we're working on that. Our perimeter road golf course is under design. Maintenance and operations facility, we hope to bid that in February, March. So that's a new building that we did work with the FDOT, and we're going to get a 50-50 grant, hopefully, for that. Terminal seating, we just found out that the power poles that we ordered are on back order, so we're going to go ahead and start, as soon as the seating's available, we'll start that project. But new taxiway Gulf design is underway. Hope to bid that mid-year so we can get on the grant cycle for next year. Same thing with the perimeter road, east side of the airport, and the replacement for 207. And then a self-serve fuel facility for the 200s is also in design. And Ron's retiring in April, so all this is going to pass to somebody. So we're interviewing for that position as we speak. Construction of the wetland mitigation phase 2, which is the continuation of what we did 2 years ago under the 1533. This will get rid of about 80% of the wetlands on the inside the fence. We still have a few that we'll work on at a later date. The few that we haven't done were not included in the EA because they're minor wetlands. As you notice at the entrance, we're still working on roadway network improvements. I think the utility cross changeover is this weekend or early next week, and then they'll start the new turn lane. If you've been here on Thursday or Friday, you know that it's desperately needed. Hope to get that underway. The new general aviation center phase 2, which we're working on. We are also working with about 5 new tenants. So shortly we'll be bringing a project to add some road, a new curb cut or a new cut onto Challenger to bring in people coming down the east side of the new ramp to add hangars along that. I think within the next 6 months we'll probably sign 5 leases in there. So it's real exciting now that we have that underway. The T hangars are currently under construction. The box hangars are under construction. I'm going to say 422 is done, so we can take that off. It's in the final phases. It is operational, and there's still a few little punch items, but nothing major. And taxiway Delta is started on Monday. That's a major project, not because of the project. It's pretty easy. You just take it up and rebuild it. It's the access and control of aircraft as we go right behind the main ramp. So it's a lot of work and coordination between the tower, the airlines, and our operations staff. Next, is there anything else? That's it. All right, now.
Marketing update.
I have a couple questions
Sure.
Oh, wait.
on the development. Jim, the flight tracks, is that imagery 2D and 3D, or is it just 2D?
It's 2D. We have both just a PDF, but you can also download a KMZ and throw it onto Google Earth, so you can actually see where you are.
I got you. And then those power poles, are they at the end of each row of seats?
No, they're basically, our seats are back to back, and there's one per about 8 sets of seats, I think is what it ends up.
Yeah, 15 power boxes, purple.
Yeah, so they'll daisy chain into each other.
I got you. Okay, thanks.
Might be interesting to explain the flight track thing so the public can take a look at it.
So if you go on our website now, you can download PDFs of the new flight tracks. Kaylee has some picture them. They basically, we took 2 heavy months, March and December, when both runways were operational, and we put the tracks and it's just, the darker colors are the heavier noise or tracks, not really noise, but and the lighter colors go out to less and less traffic. And it kind of shows where the FAA is now bringing in commercial traffic, because during the changeover with Metroplex, they changed the new points. And we used to bring everything down the center of the state. Now it's much more down the edges of the state.
Okay. Moving on, Mrs. Miller.
Website flypgd.com. At the top, there's a button that says Flight Corridor Maps. So that's where you can see these PDFs, JPEGs, and download the KMZ file. If you read the text at the bottom, it says
KMZ.
KMZ. So that is, if you have Google Earth desktop, you can open that file in there and zoom in on your house and see where you are and click on and off the layers. So that's pretty cool for folks that like technology and maps. So the marketing report is in your packets, of course, and it's online for the public if they'd like to read it from December. So I'd like to take this time today to talk to you about the PGD mascot concept for a few minutes and get your feedback. A couple months ago, James said, hey, what if we had a mascot? And I said, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. Let's think about that. So to Facebook we went for ideas, and we looked at some other airports that had mascots, and the SFB was kind of funny because that was Sanford, and they have a beekeeper who's the CEO that chases around the bee, which is actually kind of funny.
Assistant director.
Assistant director, sorry. I thought that was kind of funny. But it had some cool opportunities to get the public involved in communications, so we got some feedback and ideas, and then we narrowed it down to 3 concepts. We sent out a buzz to tenants and our employees, to about 615 people, and we put it on Facebook and Twitter to get feedback and made a survey. And then we also put it online on the Buzz blog page, so the public who's maybe not on Facebook or a tenant also has the opportunity to vote. And the news media covered it as well. So we'll go through, next Kelly, we'll go through the 3 concepts that we kind of narrowed down. And they were, very general at this point because we just want to get ideas and feedback from folks. So one was Sunny the snowbird, which we imagined was a migratory bird that comes from the cold in search of warm weather each winter season. He or she, TBD, we joked about that, loves the Florida lifestyle, gorgeous sunsets, outdoor activities, music, and boating. And Sunny may have accessories like glasses, Hawaiian shirt, fun hat. Should be able to hold a pickleball, maybe a paddle or a float or a fun drink. The next one we came up with was Joy the Jet, And Joy is an aircraft, which a costume's a little bit more challenging, that loves connecting family, friends, and associates from across the country to her destination in Southwest Florida. So Joy could be an aviation buff who represents commercial service airliners as well as jet-setting private charters and corporate jets. So that was an idea of Joy the Jet, and she would have, of course, be smiling. She'd be friendly. And then the next one we came up with via Ray LaRoche, our own Director of Operations and Facilities. Curtis the Hawk, originally was Curtis the Warhawk, but we thought Hawk may be a little bit more friendly. So it pays homage to the veterans stationed at the Punta Gorda Army Airfield during World War II. So he's named after the Curtis P-40 Warhawk, the famed aircraft that the American pilots trained on before they were sent overseas to fight the war. So that has a real historic tie. And the entire may include a Curtis number 40 jersey. It'd have the PGD logo, the American flag logo, and patches incorporated throughout his outfit. So we went to the survey. So the next is the survey results. We had 476 people participate, which was pretty cool. So as you can see, Curtis the Hawk got 46% of the votes, and followed by Sunny the Snowbird with 32.8% and 21% for Joy the Jet. So he said, well, let's dive into the comments, because I solicited comments from folks on this. So that's the next slide. So people overall did like Curtis the Hawk, and I think they loved that tie into history, and Ray educated our community about what that means as part of his campaign to get people to vote for Curtis the Hawk. So some suggestions are to make Curtis more friendly, because he kind of has like some angry eyebrows. So some other ideas were some fun accessories for Curtis, like an open cockpit helmet or goggles or Ray-Bans or aviator glasses. Maybe he's got a flight suit or bomber jacket or captain hat holding an American flag. Or maybe there's a big sun or fish to tie to Charlotte County. So there's ideas that came with that in terms of merchandise and branding, to make a cool font and logo to go with it, stickers that are tied to military heritage, maybe stuffed animals named Curtis, luggage tags, hats, t-shirts, airplanes that Curtis could hand out, kids' coloring books. So there's lots of ideas that folks had for Curtis to help tell the story of the history and incorporate some ideas as well. So for the Sunny the Snowbird, people had, of course, loved the idea of a flamingo. I think people just love pink flamingos, but as you all may know, Tampa International Airport has a giant flamingo, so we don't want to look like we're copying them in their terminal. And they had a naming contest, which I was unaware of, and now their flamingo is called Phoebe the Flamingo. So we don't want to copy Tampa Airport, so I don't think that would be the best option to go.
Flamingos aren't migratory.
And they're not migratory. So some other folks that made comments said, what about the swallow-tailed kite, for example? They're aerobatic birds. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So we had lots of other interesting suggestions as well, and fun accessories that Sunny the Snowbird could have. Even the tacky tourist look, which would also be funny. And even could have merchandise for Sunny the Snowbird, where we sell sunglasses and hats and things like that that have Sunny the Snowbird. But unfortunately, that's some difficult territory, because some folks commented that the snowbird is a little offensive potentially to some folks that don't either want to be called a snowbird or think that maybe they don't like that term snowbird, so to speak. Exactly. So the next slide. What I would recommend is if we get consensus from the board to move forward with the winner that the public voted for, if y'all agree, we could definitely have discussion, and this would be the next steps. I would recommend if we go with Curtis, that we do have a couple outfits for him. Maybe one is Curtis when he is the Warhawk and he has that military heritage vest on and the flag and all the good things that tell that story. And then maybe we give Curtis a friendly vest that says welcome to Florida with a sun on it and some fun sunglasses. So when he's the welcoming to Florida Curtis the Hawk, he can have some interchangeable accessories to tell our story as we need him to. So we would, if we move forward, we move forward with looking at a tentative schedule of events that would make sense. You know, it's hot in Florida, so we have to look at events that would make sense for Curtis to be at, where he wouldn't be too hot, or she, who's ever inside there. And identify a list of folks that would be inside that would volunteer, either employees or contractors that maybe we pay a fee to be Curtis the Hawk, and then have a handler when they're out and about, because, you know, being a mascot is not an easy job. Maybe we could get some high school volunteers that need community service hours.
You think your
too.
brother is qualified?
I'm thinking that the chair reserves the right what commissioner wears this suit.
I
Not vote in favor of that.
it could be a
Sounds
challenge.
like he's advocating for the job.
No, the appointment.
A lot of people that voted for Curtis the Hawk voted that Ray LaRoche would be inside of it. I think he's definitely on the list. We need some backups for Ray when he's not ready.
Does he get a bonus for that? or-
I know, I'm thinking there should be some sort of compensation for folks that are willing to do this extra work in one way or the other. And then we could walk through what's the community request process if they want Curtis to be at their event. And, you know, obviously Curtis needs helper, handler, and then talk about the marketing and branding and the messaging and the cool things that we could do with it, with photography and video and templates for sharing our story. So the costumes, you know, just doing a search online could be anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 to develop the custom costume. So it is an investment, and then we want to do some marketing promotion around it. So I just want to get your feedback as the board and see if you'd like me to go to the next step and then just bring back to you the progress we've made. And if that Curtis the Hawk costume mascot is something that y'all have consensus on, or you want me to come back with something else.
So just for background, I belong to a bunch of American Association of Airport Executive Board message boards, and thing to me how many airports had a mascot. So jokingly, I sent it to Kaylee and I said, we need a mascot. And whenever you don't tell Kaylee you're joking, it becomes something great. And I think, you know, we do the parades, we have kids come to the airport. I really think it's something, we've got to get more people involved in aviation. We know that as an industry. We have a pilot shortage, we have a mechanic shortage. Flying is not as exciting as it was when, you know, some of the board members were younger.
That's called
When
the
the Wright brothers were
brothers.
doing
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
You know, people have grown up now, and getting on airplanes like getting on a bus. So I think this could be something good for the airport, gives us a little bit of publicity, good publicity, and also something for the community. So it morphed into a lot more than I thought it was going to be, and thank you, Kaylee and Ray.
Okay, pleasure of the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's
I do have a
amazing.
quick question. Kaylee, did we consult our marketing experts?
Yes, our marketing team at Gravinus, Matt and Arnold, who we have on retainer, they're so excited. They like the idea of a happier hawk, if so be it, and they're excited about all the opportunities that go with it. Like James said, you know, encouraging aviation and be able to speak on behalf of those things in a fun way that's not with their voice, but with imagery and with events and fun things. So I think they're also excited about that.
So when in our interview process now, we're asking if you've ever been a cheerleader, a mascot.
A band, a tuba,
a
a marching band.
geek, so we're working on all that.
So I'm getting a sense from the board that staff should go forward with the next step in the process of establishing a mascot.
Sure.
Thank
I
you.
don't think we need a motion for it. I think it's just a direction.
No, it's something Kaylee will do under her budget, but I just thought it'd be neat to bring it to the board and show you some of the crazy things we're doing, besides rebuilding from hurricanes and dealing with all the
Yeah,
other
we need
stuff,
some-
the day-to-day stuff.
Some fun distractions to help the communities stay involved.
All right, Mr. Duncan, please.
Good morning, thank you. Yes, I do an aviation report, not as fun as Haley's report, but we'll try to dress it up as much as we can. So operations, 7,411 for the month of December. And most of that is as normal, mostly comes from general aviation and local traffic. Next. I know James is going to talk a little bit more in his State of the Airport address, but I'll just summarize. We had our best year in passenger traffic in the history of the airport, and not just by a little, by close to over 200,000. And if you take into account that we had, deal with a major hurricane, as well as both of the commercial airport runways were shut down for a week while they worked on what we call the bullseye, where both the runways cross. And so if we didn't have those two events, we probably would have been closer to almost 2 million total passengers. So 1,846,097 passengers. That was just a great year, all things considered. So we'd like to thank our Legion and Sun Country, our partners in that. And as far as fuel sales, it's coming back. November was a real low month in fuel sales, but it's bouncing back. December in all categories were higher, not as high as the previous December 2021. So it's all moving in the right direction. Thank you.
You just go back to that one slide just to quickly, 1.3 million gallons a month.
Wow, that's a lot.
We get a few pennies off of that, so it does at least pay for the fuel farm. But that used to be about a year and a half worth of pumping fuel. So it just shows how much more activity there is with our FBO staff, the number of fuelings we're doing, the number of loads we're taking, the number of how much testing we're doing at the fuel farm. It's amazing to see those numbers, considering in 2005 and 6, 1.1 million a year is what we were pumping. So, total gallons. This is just airline. This is just jet. So. All right.
Okay, we're ready to go on to our annual State of the Airport.
So again, I'm going to mention that Mr. Quill never did these. So when I read my contract,
It was
I said
required on your contract.
Yeah, when I read, I was like, wow, that's something new. So just go through quickly, as Gary said, and I always say we're a large GA airport with commercial traffic, so our GA tenants are very important to us. And to that, we have more T hangars than most of the airports around us, and we're building new ones. Get about $850,000 a year in revenue. We have 142 on the wait list, and that went up dramatically when we said we were building new hangars. So it's gone from about 9 months to 24 months, and so we have 24 planned to open this year, plus 9 larger hangars, and then we have the ability to build about another 100 more. I'd like to see what happens over the next year and to see how many I would recommend. Next slide, please. Aviation leases, with the opening of the Air Center, with CTC's grant to go up there, there's just a lot of interest. And like I said, I think over the next few months, we'll be bringing in 4 or 5 new leases for that area. It's going to fill up really quickly, and we're excited about that. It's what we always envisioned. It's just happening all at once, and we stay busy meeting with potential tenants and vetting the uses and making sure they'll fit in. But new tenants this year, these are all in the FBO, Jet Access, Flight Training, Sarasota Helicopters and Tours, Paragon. Paragon's looking at building a much bigger hangar here with their own offices, and then Southwind Aviation. And then CTC, they added some new mobile classrooms. They'll be moving into their new facility hopefully in the next 18 months, and they're now a full A&P school, so a lot of interest in that. So net revenues, Even with our fuel sales going down from the end of the year, we were up in avgas, jet fuel, and just FBO services. That's lav carts, which is the exciting part of it. Ice, oil, the other things we sell to people, but a nice 30% increase. And we hope to see more of that as we now move into the area of a first-class FBO. We're getting a lot of people flying in here for the first time and seeing the new building, and now saying, we came in here because we had to, now we're going to come in here because we want to.
Oh, nice.
So it's really exciting, and we hope to see these numbers continue to increase.
Wow, I like that.
So operations, 86,539. And, we have software that actually tracks all of that now, so it's not just the tower count, but at night we can see who's flying in and doing touch and goes. We used to miss a lot of those. 396 based aircraft, that's down a couple. But almost 400 based aircraft is fairly large. I mean, there are airports, general aviation and commercial airports that have 30, 40 based aircraft. So to have that many and to have another 100 on a wait list is exciting. So non-aviation leases, that we have 11 buildings and 11 land leases. We're looking at building a couple of spec buildings. Kind of put a lot of that on hold based on the construction industry just being so red hot that prices were ridiculous. I think as interest rates go up and developers start to cut back on what they're building, we have the opportunity with cash to build some things that could cash flow for us in the future. But this year was a 3% increase over 2021. That's just normal increases in rents as we have CPI adjustments and rent adjustments in our leases. So we had an issue in September where we were heavily damaged by Hurricane Ian. A lot of that is buildings that we have purchased throughout the years or came back to us. Fortunately for us, the buildings that we have built over the last 10 years held up really well. We have minor damage to a lot of them, but the one in front of you is one of the bigger ones. Major damage to that building and its contents. That building will be coming down. Right now we have the, what is it, B-17? B-17 that has been at the airport for a little over a year because of an engine failure it had when it was giving rides here. They're currently taking it apart and are going to truck it back to Oshkosh where the EAA will get it back flying. And then the building directly across from that, Arcadia Aerospace, had some significant damage. And then across the road from these is AirTrek. And you can kind of see there's an angle through there where we're pretty sure a tornado touchdown. That's the most significant damage on the airport, of those 4 buildings right there. And it doesn't make sense the way the damage happened. It didn't, like you look at the pulsifeeder building next to us, you can see the winds were just blowing in continuously and just that building collapsed in on itself. But these 3 buildings or 4 buildings took damage in all directions, which would say is probably a tornado. So we're, like I said earlier, about 25 million, 30 million in insured damage. So we're working through that, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the contracts in a few minutes. Next. So commercial air services, Gary stole my thunder, which is fine. 1.8 million passengers, 17% increase over 21. Most airports are using 2019 as their base for growth across the United States. Everyone is trying to get back to 2019 numbers. Fortunately for us, we're in Florida, and Florida has maintained the ability to fly and travel, and we were back almost to normal in 2021, and it exceeded it in 2022. This is something that you've seen in Fort Myers, you've seen in Sarasota, you've seen in Tampa. Tampa's still, the bigger airports are still down because of the international traffic they're not seeing, but the ones that are like us, Daytona, some of the others that are just leisure travel, we're seeing tremendous growth, and now I wish we were seeing the growth that Sarasota got, but I think 17% increase over last year, but we're significantly over our best year ever, which was 2019, and that's the baseline for everybody right now. So we're going to Washington in a few months as a group for airports, and this is our big story. The money they gave us allowed us to maintain and retain our employee base, which allowed us to continue growing, which had we based everything off of the downturn in 2020 and let 50% of our employees go, the battle we're all having to keep and hire new employees, we would have been in trouble as things got back to normal and exceeded normal in Florida. So non-aviation revenues that are airline related, terminal advertising, auto parking, except for our grant from the TSA, which we have to count as revenue to cover our law enforcement, which went down. Everything was up, 13.5 million in revenues from the airline related, everything from auto parking and rental cars, terminal advertising. Food and beverages is up, which is great. That's the new, probably mostly due to the new bar that was put in the terminal, and I hope everybody's been back there to see it or had a drink at it while they're waiting on a flight.
Is that an invitation?
Any time we can take you back there and show you around. I think I see.
Are you buying?
The chair back there over there.
Are you buying?
The airport cannot buy alcohol, but it speaks to the efficiency of the airport that we were able to shove in a bar and increase food and beverage by almost 40%. Next slide. Car rental, as we talked about, almost a little over 7 million. We just went out and changed our model a little. We now get a mag from the rental cars. So if we do have a big decline, at least there's some guaranteed revenue, which will help us if we ever go out for revenue bonds to build something, which I'm going to try and stay away from as long as we can, but this gives us the ability to have some guaranteed revenue.
On the ownership of the rental cars, is it all the same ownership or are they all different? They're all
the same.
They're all the same under the same ownership.
So ground transportation, there's one new one in here that was not in last year, which is Turo, which you can see we signed a contract with Turo, a one-year contract. We just updated it. It went from 6% of gross to 10% of gross. So that number amazes me. Turo was kind of a hidden thing on airports. They were operating here, but we didn't know about it. We didn't know how they were operating. Fortunately for us, one of our airports to the north sued them, and they finally decided that they would contract with airports. So they started out at 6. I think they went up to 10 at most of the Florida airports. Florida has been one of the most successful states at contracting with Turo, and it's obviously was a lot bigger than we expected.
You might explain how that works. Most people aren't
Yeah,
familiar with it.
How does that work? So you go on an app and you can rent somebody's car, and they drop it off here at the airport, and you pay the app, and then you drop it back off, and they take their car. So there's everything from Porsches to Fiats to Mercedes. And honestly, sometimes if you look at it, the rates aren't much different, especially when rental cars were crazy last year. The rates aren't that bad, and I think that's one of the reasons this was so high this year. Next. Auto parking, of course, auto parking goes along with flights, and flights dropped off in September for two reasons. We had our shutdown, and then we had a hurricane, but auto parking revenue is back. We just got through the holiday season where we were parked in the grass a lot. We'll be looking at adding the third phase, which is about 1,000 additional spots in the red lot sometime this year. And then airline-related revenue, this is total revenue from all sources, CFCs, PFCs, entitlements, and then the operating revenue, which we went through, the airline-related parking and rental cars. So net per passenger is about $19.57 after we take out expenses. $25.43 is the total revenue per passenger for 2022. One thing this does not have in it is about $4 per passenger in bipartisan infrastructure funding that's coming to us at the rate of about $4 to $4.5 million a year for the next 5 years. We've been putting that off for some bigger projects, so you'll start seeing some of those projects come up. But it's exciting to see. We monitor not the 398 and the 450 and the 165. We monitor that 1423 very closely as things change in the industry, as you know, we have new contracts. We want to make sure that number stays fairly consistent, and Heather does a great job of tracking that revenue, and we meet periodically to go through it and see what parts are changing, and just to make sure everything's on track. So this slide, we look at it every year. It tracks our revenue versus our expenses. Total revenue jumped up pretty good last year, and that's due to us getting back to normal. Expenses jumped up pretty good too. There's still a big delta between them, much bigger than there was in 21 and 20, and that's always a good thing, but we have had, and as we grow, we will continue to have increased expenses. It's just keeping those lines as far apart as possible, which is our goal. Operating margin, 24%, which is significant.
That's healthy.
It's very healthy. So we're proud of that. Staff does a great job of keeping costs and expenses down. But as we grow, unfortunately, we can't do as much on our own. We just get too big, and if you add staff to do things, sometimes, as you guys who run businesses know, that can hurt that. So we're very diligent on how we contract out and how we add staff as we move forward. So airline contributions, we charge a turn fee to put fuel in the airplanes. Allegiant rents a hangar from us. We charge for all their ground support fuel. We have 3 trucks that are donated by Allegiant Airlines, so that's saving us about $90,000 a year in rental fees. The airlines both rent offices from them. We used to have a building that they rented for GSE. That building was never repaired after Hurricane Charlie, and that showed. It is completely gone now. The bathrooms there, which our staff built, it's perfect. And then fuel farm contributions. So Allegiant has funded all of our fuel farm improvements over the last few years. Nice. And then as soon as they're done, they give them to us, and we basically refund them a penny a gallon until that's paid for. So a total of $907,000. This is the one that takes up the majority of our time. $19.5 million in CIP last year completed. The new GA terminal, taxiway Echo going into it, the Air Center, wetland mitigations, rental car study that we did to see if we needed to expand rental car, terminal building study, north side plan, which we put into effect to kind of control how the north side gets developed, and then ramp repairs to building 101, which got blown away. The ramp's great, but the building did not make it. So 19.5 million last year. That number will be about the same this year. It's a lot of work going on. We've been very successful at lobbying for grants from the DOT, from the FAA, and with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, there's a lot of entitlement money out there that we're working on projects to fund with that. Terminal expansion, which is one we're competing for, but we're working towards that. And I think you'll see that number stay fairly consistent for the next 2 or 3 years. Next. And this is why I say that. So we're starting 16.5 million worth of new projects this year, and we carried over about 46, 47 million in projects that'll be continued from last year into this year and the following year. And these projects are longer term and just take time to complete. This is why Ron doesn't come anymore. He doesn't have time. Talk about how we're funding a lot of this and how things are going. Our PFC account, which is basically the airlines charge $4.50 per ticket. They pay us that less a few pennies. We put that away into to save for approved projects. We have $2.5 million in that. We keep between $7 and $5 million in operating cash. That's just our bank account to pay checks. Internal reserves, those are held over for insurance, claims. We put money away for parking lots. We put money away for building repairs. So a lot of that is, there's no restricted cash here. All of our cash is unrestricted. We don't have any bonds restricting money that we have to keep. But we internally restrict this money so that we have that. So when I come to you to build a new parking lot, it'll come out of the 7.1 million. And then unrestricted cash, this is just cash on hand that we're going to be putting some in investment accounts pretty shortly, about $29 million. This is the number that, if you recall, during the master plan, my goal was to have 15 million in unrestricted cash.
Wow. Big difference.
Next slide. So passenger amenities. It's been a busy year in the terminal. We are upgrading all the seats, which aren't there yet. We did put in some new stand-up charging tables against the windows. It's one of the biggest complaints we get. We didn't have enough charging. That'll solve itself with the new seats and these new stand-up charging tables. We had a temporary area at the end of gate 1 for vending. They did that a permanent build. It's really nice if you haven't seen it. Enhanced holiday decor. I can tell you that's not me. That's Beth and Kaylee. Thank you. My maintenance staff love the holidays where they get to climb up on the building and hang stuff. And then with
a parachute?
We put in a nursing mother's room. I don't know what to call it. It's a very nice room. Yes. It used to be a closet that was accessed behind the gate, so we no longer have a place to store tickets. But we do have a very nice room for mothers.
I get a lot of compliments on that, believe it or not. And
amazingly, more people have used it than I ever expected. So we try and keep people that are taking their dogs in there to use the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
That's Beth's biggest
I haven't heard
that. She's shaking her head no. She does not like that.
You need a new door that says...
Oh, it's there.
And it goes outside.
So this year, we opened the Air Center, which was a multi-year project. I think I was in Tallahassee one year, and Gary called me and said, "Can we use 1.2 million to build a new?" And I'm like, "Of course, we can always use 1.2 million." And we signed a grant we had a lot of hurdles to get that done. Most of we had a $1.2 million grant and an $18 million project. But we got it all done, and just can't be prouder of staff. It's a gorgeous facility.
Yeah.
I know some people said it looks like a funeral home, but
What?
it is a very nice facility. That was in the newspaper when we presented it. I'm proud of it. I think everybody should be proud of it.
Nice. Right?
CTC facility, that we're a $3 million grant that we're currently working with. And one of the other things that we did this year was our first honor flight with the veterans and Allegiant. That was a real exciting, a lot of participation from the community on that one. All right, next slide. And this is all Kaylee. Marketing. We do more marketing now. We always had a marketing budget. We never spent it. Kaylee's good at spending it, but I think the dividends on that are tremendous. We're now tracking people with some software that all the airlines like to see. Tells you where you're going, whether you fly into Sarasota, Tampa, Fort Myers, Key West. If you come to Punta Gorda, we can see it. So it's real interesting data, more data than I'll ever want to see. But the airlines love it because we can say, look, this is the true market for Punta Gorda. 50 plus destinations. We have some targeted digital advertising in MSP, which has worked fairly well. And we have been advertising the heck out of the Air Center, and I think that's paying off. Great dividends. Next. So current staffing, 59 full-time, 22 part-time, and 15 seasonal. So that's 96 total, up from 12 when I started. And we added Chad this year to, he's our Chief Administrative Officer, to kind of replace some of the duties Sandy did, but we expanded it. He's now in charge of IT, HR. Heather took over most of Sandy's job as we promoted her and brought on one new person in finance, and then so she reports to Chad, and then Gary has the rest of them reporting under him. We promoted Ray to Operations Director this year, but we dealt with a lot with the hurricane. We worked with all our employees after the hurricane to get as many people situated at home first, and then back to work so we could get the airport open. All right, next slide. That's it. State of the airport. Any questions, comments, concerns? We have less people now. We used to have less people total than one of our northern airports has in maintenance. We have about twice the number of employees total, including the FBO, than an airport to the north of us has in their maintenance department. Really? We handle a lot of stuff with 6 people in maintenance. That's one department that always amazes me. And land side, air side, and we just finished our FAA inspection and got through it fairly well, and that's just a testament to all the work that everybody does here.
Okay, moving on. Agenda item 13, which is old business. We had an addition concerning a parking lot.
No, this is hurricane related work. We signed on, if you guys recall, to a program handled by FMIT, which is our insurance company, called Turnkey, which has a construction company, Synergy, that's handling all the reconstruction. Because of some, I'll be honest, I think it's because FMIT and Synergy are Sanibel, Fort Myers Beach, Fort Myers, Charlotte County, us, and a few others. They are somewhat overloaded. They have asked if we could just take on the contracting of some of the work. They have solicited bids for this work.
Really?
What I'm asking is right now, the board allow me to sign contracts under 150,000. These are reimbursable through insurance, less our deductible, and we're tracking our deductibles. We have about $1 million in exposure. A lot of that will be paid by FEMA as a government entity, and we're working with that right now.
Who's going to run the projects? In-house?
In-house, it will be a combination of Chad, Gary, and I.
Will that interfere with any grants
No.
from anywhere? No?
You sure we can take the load on without,
Well, we have a contractor from the law firm that's working for us. We'll just probably keep her
Dump
more
her.
hours a week than we currently are, just doing project cost accounting.
and how many projects you got?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Each one under 150, I guess.
So, yeah, if you just go through them, it's 93, it's 20, it's 146, it's 12, and these are small projects, 24. I mean, the majority of them are well under 150, 18, 56, 16, and 20.
Is the EAA building in that bunch?
I don't think it is. It's like a bomb shelter. No, we're putting a new door on it and a few other things.
Yeah, okay.
Are the additional legal fees, are those going to be reimbursable as well?
The majority of them are reimbursable through FEMA because it's just additional work, so we're tracking that.
I know like a lot of the governmental entities in our region have hired a forensic accountant so that we can maximize the reimbursement from FEMA, because we all know that they like to come back after the fact and demand to be repaid.
I will, and we may, at the end of the project, look at that. We suffered through that under Charlie, and FEMA is, in my mind, the only four-letter word you'll hear me say in public. They're very difficult to deal with. So that's one of the reasons we brought someone on to just track that.
Right.
And I think we're very conservative. I would rather not ask for money than deal with the reimbursement 10 years later. And so that's where we are. And our accounting team is looking at it, as well as we'll probably have Tuscan later go through all of them and do everything. So yeah, we haven't officially brought in a forensic accountant, but we're very conservative on what we're asking FEMA to pay for, just because of experience.
Any further questions? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to give the authority to our CEO to engage in the contracts under $150,000. Were there 9?
Currently, there's 9. I have a meeting this afternoon to kind of discuss this, because I'll be honest, I'm not thrilled that they're throwing this at us. But I also am not thrilled that we're 90-plus days after a hurricane and we're just starting $12,000 repairs.
Just earnest brownie points.
Okay.
Oh, I doubt it.
So we'll entertain a motion to approve that and not limit the number of contracts at this point.
That'd be great.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the proposal as presented.
I second that.
Have a motion and a second to authorize the COO to engage in minor contracts of less than $150,000 as related to hurricane repair. Any further discussion? Did I do it right?
Sounds good to me.
Well, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Opposed, motion carried. Now, I have the note here in our old business, parking lot repair.
Parking lot repair?
Isn't that what you said early?
No. Hurricane repair.
Okay. So now we can move on to new business.
So at the last meeting, the board indicated some interest in having a workshop to discuss development. We've looked at calendars and picked a few dates that staff can put this together. If the board wants to move forward with that, if we select a date and schedule it, we can move.
What were the dates again? I didn't bring them.
Yeah, they're,
February 22nd, Thursday, February 23rd, Wednesday, March 1st, or Thursday, March 2nd.
Myself, I'm available February 23rd, March 1st, and March 2nd, so those 3 days.
I'm good all dates.
I'm only good the 23rd.
well, if she's only good the 23rd, probably look at scheduling the 23rd if everybody else.
What day of the week is that?
It's Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday, February 23rd.
Thursday at 9 a.m. on the 23rd?
Yeah, and we should publicize this, you know, I'm looking at it as an educational workshop, you know, hands-on thing, so we can all get a feel for what's, be knowledgeable of what we're anticipate doing in 2023. And it's open to the public.
Of
you know,
course, yeah.
And looking for any input.
So I need a motion and a vote.
Motion and vote. Chair will entertain a motion to schedule an educational workshop for Thursday, February 23rd, 2023 at 9 a.m.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve a workshop meeting for Thursday, February 23rd, 2023 at 9 o'clock. Is that what we agreed on, at 9 o'clock?
Yes.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion second to schedule a educational workshop on February 23rd. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Same sign, no. Motion carried. Okay.
And the next item is just a requirement of the FAA that we have a resolution of the board to move forward with our PFC application. This is application number 4?
4, 5.
4.
Mr. Chair, I move approval. I wished I could. Make a motion that the board adopt Resolution 2023-01, the PFC application number 4.
Second.
I have a motion second to move forward with approval of our passenger facility charge application for 2023-01 resolution. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign, no. Motion carried unanimously.
So the next item is April and May meeting dates. Both Gary and I are out in April at an Allegiant conference. And then May 18th, I am out, the May 18th meeting, I am out of the country. My daughter is dancing in Paris, so I'll be there. We can leave the May 18th meeting, and Gary can run it. He's real excited about that. Or we can go ahead and today reschedule both of those meetings, which would be my preference, just so I know what's going on.
I'm good all dates.
I'm fine with all dates, so whatever works.
I would prefer April 13th to the 27th and May 11th to the 25th, if that's okay.
Sure.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. We can just get a motion to reschedule those two.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve changes to our meeting dates. The April 20th meeting will be moved till April 13th, and the May 18th meeting will be moved to May 11th. Same time, same place.
Same time, same place.
As presented.
Okay. Chair has a Motion to reschedule the April, May board meetings to date specified. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Did we get a second?
Oh, I'll second.
You just didn't hear it.
Mental.
Okay, we have a motion and second. As stated, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. We might get one of these new sheets.
Yeah, we'll.
That's good. We never had an April or May on that sheet. Isn't that weird?
We've been in negotiations with the sheriff, well, with the county on the sheriff's building. That's been a land lease. It expires at the end of the month. It then has 20 years of extensions, automatic extensions. It's a $60,000 a year lease. The building does not revert to us at the end of the lease, so we would be, if we continued with the current lease, we would get our land rent, and then the building would be gone at the end of 2 years and possibly 3 years after that as they build a new headquarters, and then give it back to us for a nominal rent over the next 5 years possibly. We would be getting about a $6.5 million facility based on current market value at the end of the lease for basically $60,000 a year over the next 5 years. So my recommendation is that we approve the modification of the lease agreement, changing the term and the payment for the next 2 plus 3 one-year options.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board authorize the CEO to execute the sheriff's land lease amendment as presented.
Second.
I'll second.
And just, our attorneys have reviewed all of this.
Okay, the chair has a motion to modify the lease agreement with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Department as detailed in the modification of the lease agreement, which you've all had a copy to review. I have a motion, second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Same sign, no. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, moving on. Public comment. Anyone in the chambers wish to address the Airport Authority? Seeing none, we'll move on to Commissioner comments. We'll start with Mrs. Coppola.
Thank you all for being here. Very good meeting. Interesting things happening here, even after the horrible hurricane problems that everybody had. I know I had a ton of them. Had to leave my house for several weeks while they fixed it up. I hope everybody outside and everybody here is in good stead with what's happening. And we can only get bigger and better, and I think you're doing a good job here. Thank you, guys.
Commissioner Hurston.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see Commissioner Deutsch, and I know we have Mark Kistel and Paul, two of our great engineering firms, but it's good to see you guys. But staff, great job. You guys just do a phenomenal job. It's unbelievable. I am missing a pocket knife, by the way.
No.
Oh, did we find it?
got it.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I found it in one of my drawers. It was there.
I tried to get on a plane and forgot all about it. I carry it every day, and I had to get a shuttle and drop it back over at Jim's office, but it worked out well. Thank you.
Do that?
It sounds
Well,
like,
I wanted to do it, or they would have just kept it.
it sounds like we need to have a re-education of a
I think
commissioner
so.
on how to travel on an airplane.
I think so. I think so. But anyway, it's good to see everybody. I did rent our conference room over at the Air Center this week, and my clients were just thrilled with the operation over there and the condition of the Air Center. So it was really nice. But other than that, it's good to see everybody, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Oliver.
Oh, yes, thank you. I just want to congratulate all of the employees that were recognized today. And thank you to everyone who has started including the employee service recognition on our agendas. I think it's such a great addition, and I love to see it. And I love it when we honor our employees who are gaining new degrees or new certifications. I think that's been such a great addition to our meetings. So thank you and congratulations.
Andrew.
Yes, I wind it up. Can't improve on much of what anybody else said. One thing I want to comment on is the state of the airport. What an incredible story, having been a part of it since 2012. It's just incredible what we've accomplished. Our staff, employees have all done. You're all part of the success, and thank you. So that's all I have to say.
It looks like we're going to have a busy year in 2023, and we look forward to it. Thank everybody. I think everybody is probably aware of the fact that we have opened runway 422 to commercial air traffic, which was a great news release by our marketing exec. And with that, adjourned.
I had to call the noise hotline 3 or 4 times.
I've had people.